It's been a few months since we've shown you around the homestead. Let's give you an update on what we've been working on. Given that we live in the suburbs, we don't have quite as much space as we would like. So we are manufacturing a garden in the forest. This is what we've got so far. We have 2 planters, which were entirely made out of pallet wood. Obviously they're empty right now, but we're gonna be gathering some dirt from around the forest and filling them to plant either mulberry or blackberry in here. We might even do mint in one of them. That way there's a wider variety of different fruits and vegetables that we can grow in a forest. Not that much grows, but enough does that we can turn it into something. Over here, we've done our mushroom dowels. We'll have another video on this. All these dowels in here are filled with mushroom spores with wax melted over it. It takes a long time, up to a year before shiitake dowels will start producing mushrooms. But once they do, we'll have a continuous supply of mushrooms throughout each summer. We've got the same thing being done over on another tree over there for live wood and dead wood, both of them growing shiitake mushrooms all the way up and down. Over here, we ended up repairing part of our fence, and this doesn't look like much right now, but this is going to be a great vine, a great trellis for vines to grow on. So we can try tomatoes, or we can go with blackberries. They might work their way up, or it may end up being completely useless, in which case, well, at least we got something to burn. And there's a couple tires laying around this woods too. We're gonna end up turning those into planters. You could bolt some of the tires together, fill them up with soil, and then it works as a sort of raised garden bed. And then one table over there, we're probably gonna have a couple of more of these spread throughout just to have some additional space for our planters. And I almost forgot, this whole dead tree over here is also filled with shiitake mushroom dowels. So we're still plenty of months out before we start getting some results. But with 1, 2, 3 trees all filled with mushroom dowels, I predict that we're gonna have a pretty hefty supply. All right, great, let's move on to the next side of the homestead. Inside my basement right now, I'm growing 3 jars of blue oyster mushroom grain spawn and 3 jars of shiitake grain spawn. Now this grain spawn is going to produce mushrooms when we put it into a larger substrate. So it took me a little bit more time than I thought it was going to plant these things, but after a couple of weeks, you start getting this beautiful, disgusting grain spawn. This is the blue oyster right here. It grows really, really fast, so probably within the next couple of days, I'm gonna put this into a bucket filled with aspen wood chips and watch it produce mushrooms. The shiitake is much, much slower growing. I probably wouldn't have done shiitake if I knew it was this slow, but it's gonna take maybe another month or 2, and then I'll be able to put it back in those buckets. Within probably toward the end of the month, maybe only 3 weeks from now, we're gonna have full buckets with mushrooms sprawling out the side. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's gonna taste really good. Okay. Walking past all of our scrap wood, we've got our 2 planters here. Both of these are made entirely out of scrap wood that we picked up while we were dumpster diving. And just look at the results that we got here from the tomatoes and the peppers. These are growing so out of control that we tried adding additional stuff for them to climb, and it's still getting out of hand. One piece even broke off because it was too heavy. The number of tomatoes that we got here it's probably more than I've had in any garden that I've ever done, and it's just from 2 little planters. So I'm obviously very pleased with the results. And then we also have these peppers here. So these are growing a little bit slower than the tomatoes, but that's okay. Just look at the size we get out of some of these things. We're talking about 7 or 8 inch peppers. Every day, Tabasco peppers. So every day we're getting another dozen tomatoes and a few more peppers. For some reason, we elected to go with flowers over here. I think that was kind of a miss, personally. With the amount of produce we could have gotten if we had just gone with 4 tomato plants. We're already up to our ears in tomatoes, and this thing has been going great. Next, we're gonna go down to our $1 million dock. Unfortunately, I don't have the best news about the fish, but I haven't given up yet, and I'm holding on to hope that things are gonna work out. You can tell that we haven't been down here in a while, because our path has been completely overgrown, but luckily, I got a tool for that. All right, ultimately we did find the right spot after all. Our dock is a little overgrown right now. And that's because we haven't been down here a whole lot, since unfortunately we haven't seen any of the tilapia since a few days after we dumped them in. And even the tracer rounds that we put in here, those goldfish, they seem to have disappeared. And no luck out of the crawfish either. So We really don't have anything in here right now that we've actually seen, but I am holding on to hope that the crawfish and the tilapia have just gone further under the water and we aren't able to see them now. It's going to be a full year before they're actually ready to reproduce anyway. So if they are hiding out, they wouldn't be ready to harvest for at least a year and change. So if everything goes according to plan, then we could still have tilapia. But right now, I'm a little bit disappointed with the way this has turned out. We might try something later. We might try koi fish. We might just get a breeder colony for tilapia and then put them in here once they're fully grown. Anything to give them a better shot would have been the right move instead of throwing a bunch of guppies in here. But this is still a resource that we may be able to take advantage of later. Let's move on to the next part of the homestead. Since we've had much more luck with agriculture than we have with fish, then our next plan is to expand on that agrarian side of the house. So we have this open area here with basically nothing growing in it. We're planning on using this space to grow corn. It's already mid-July, so it's a little bit late in the season. But corn does grow quickly and it doesn't require a whole lot of maintenance. So we plan on in the future turning this into an area where we can grow some corn and harvest it. And no pun intended, right here is the cream of the crop. We've got potatoes, radishes, and beets. And I expected them to grow, but I did not expect this. I mean, these potatoes are growing so big that they're falling over the side. I don't know how many potatoes are in here, but we planted about 15 potatoes maybe, and I think this whole thing is gonna end up being completely inundated by the time we harvest it. This raised bed garden is made out of pine, and we installed this extra bench in here so that we could put some extra dirt, some of our gardening tools. And around the side, we've got our radishes and beets. So these are not growing quite as tall as the potatoes are, but they do look like they're growing according to plan. So I think by the time we harvest, we're gonna have a really healthy crop. We've got some flowers in here that look like they got drowned out. I think next time we plant in this thing, we might not even need the flowers at all. But I'm really, really satisfied with the way these potatoes are looking, and I'm looking up some more recipes on how we can get the most out of all of them. And now the piece I know everybody's waiting for. We got 3 happy and healthy hens. We started with 6 chickens. 3 of them ended up being roosters, so we had to send them to a farm upstate. But we've got, thanks to our generous sponsors, we have Lemon, Lionel Debo Di Messi, something like that, and Strong Chicken. They're about 3.5 months old right now. They look perfectly healthy and they're really enjoying this custom-made coop. We've got a video on that as well you're gonna wanna check out. It's gonna be a few more months before they're ready to start laying eggs. But once they do, we'll be expecting about 200 to 250 eggs per year per chicken in this nesting box. Next steps for us are the forest garden that I talked about prior, the corn outside the fence, and here we're gonna put a concrete slab to make it easier for us to get in and out of the nesting box. And then over on the other side, we're going to have an outdoor kitchenette with a pergola. So the ground will be solid from concrete, we'll have counters on either side and a pergola over the top. I'm really looking forward to the rest of what Homestead Homies has to offer. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check us out on Discord. Thanks for watching.